So you have confessions and misdirections all at once, which brings us to one thing that Trump is now claiming today in his first extended public remarks since these damning hearings have begun. Now, he's not claiming all the people storming the Capitol are, quote, special or full of love as he did before, which is a kind of a tell because Trump does know TV and PR. That's one thing he knows. And he knows at a gut level that tens of millions of people have been watching at least part of the hearing, so they've heard his aides, family, and lawyers recount a bunch of horrible crap that he did knowingly, that he lied about. And that kind of lie, the lie about the election and the lies about what happened that day, that's not going to cut it right now. Even Donald Trump knows that. So here's what he did today. Didn't talk about love and peace. He just said, quote, what happened on January 6th was a simple protest that got out of hand, end quote. And he also talked of pardons for the people who did the bad stuff on the 6th. Now, this is Donald Trump's version of meeting in a kind of middle ground, but it matters because we've heard the same defense in public from Trump allies and especially over on Fox News. We've heard this defense in interviews on MSNBC. That claim is false. The Times investigation, the video you just saw, the evidence in the hearing shows all of that, not something that just got out of hand. As the now indicted Proud Boys leader was in contact with convicted and pardoned Trump advisor Roger Stone, that raises even larger questions. The two even joined forces and joined their own voices in addressing a rally days out from the insurrection, as the FBI continues to probe another and different person that may link the Proud Boys to Trump's circle. This is big news. With that in mind, we turn right now to Alan Feuer, the courts and criminal justice reporter for the New York Times. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Ari, how are you?
I'm good. This was very painstaking work and told in a very gripping manner about something that matters. As I mentioned, the video and the videos we've seen and the testimony we've seen in the hearings have clearly put pressure on Donald Trump. His defense sounds different. Given the import here, why don't you, if you could, walk us through how you did this and anything else that you think is important, journalistically, factually, people should know from your investigation.
Sure. So we can start with the fact that for 18 months, it's been very clear that the Proud Boys played a central role in what happened on January 6th. The first conspiracy charges against the Proud Boys were brought in late January, within weeks of the attack itself. And since that time, there's been a steady drumbeat of indictments rolled out, culminating this month with a seditious conspiracy indictment against 5 members of the group, including its former leader, Enrique Tarrio, and 4 other top lieutenants and members. That said, what hasn't been as clear all along is the level of coordination and tactical maneuvering that took place on the ground, amongst dozens of Proud Boy members on January 6th. And, the reason that it's taken this long is that essentially the attack on the Capitol was the largest digital crime scene in human history, right? No one has ever documented a crime scene like January 6th was documented. You're talking about social media videos, you're talking about, like press cameras, CCTV from the Capitol itself, body cameras from police officers. It's just taken a long time to process and analyze and understand all of that video. And so what's happened behind the scenes is an incredible community of open source intelligence researchers, private citizens, have dedicated their time, have left, in some cases, their day jobs to scour this video, to go through it minute by minute, second by second. People who have real, detailed, real-life understanding of the Proud Boys, who can look at a video and see a guy with a hand tattoo and be like, I know that guy. I know that hand tattoo. And so this community of scores of people have been working relentlessly for months. And essentially, we connected with them. They shared a lot of their findings with us. And the Times Visual Investigations team, which is like nonpareil, these guys are amazing, kind of like received a lot of this raw footage and information and the patterns that were discovered, did a lot of work themselves, vetted it all out, of course, checked it, did further work, and were able to put together this 17-minute video that you guys are showing now.
Do they successfully breach the Capitol without the Proud Boys?
That's a good question. I would say no. I would say the Proud Boys are integral to what happened on January 6th. You know, if you're talking about, pre-planning, if you're talking about sort of like, strategizing in advance, there's a lot of questions about what the public evidence says on that. But if you just look at the on-the-ground visual evidence, just focus on what is known and what can be seen, it's very clear that the Proud Boys were central, instrumental in all of these 5 breach points and advance points that you mentioned before.
And then finally, Alan, I mentioned the reporting that's going on. Do you think it is likely that a link would then be drawn beyond Stone to other Trump officials knowing that this written plan, that this premeditated plan was in the works? Or is your view that if that were true, it would have come out by now?
I would exercise a measure of caution about 1776 returns. Let's remember this was released by the Proud Boys defense lawyers themselves. It was a plan adjacent to what happened on January 6th, but not exactly what happened. And it was not a plan that was created by the Proud Boys. It was essentially given to Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader, by one of his girlfriends. And what's going to be interesting is to find out the authorship and the origins of that plan, right? And where it came from. And we will find that out.
Okay. Well, there you go. Clearly, this is service journalism, and as you mentioned, tapping both the resources of the New York Times, but also a lot of other people in a fact-checked communal way, which is interesting as well. So we appreciate both what you're doing and learning about it. Alan Feuer from the New York Times, thank you.